Seriously? You're such an annoyance? Maybe it's about time you kick the bucket, huh? Narrowing her eyes to glare at me, my daughter-in-law Kiki, along with her mother Sierra, spat these words in my face. Even my precious grandson Hank, whom my late son left behind, joins them in pointing at me and laughing. Seeing this unfold, I felt like I had reached my breaking point. Why keep people around who wish you gone? They're not family. They're nothing. The weight I'd been carrying in my chest seemed to lift, leaving me feeling oddly liberated. Well then, leave. We want to live just as a family. Sierra shouts at me, sounding like a villain from some story. Hank repeats her words like a parrot. Seeing the two of them so pleased, I could only sigh. Despite their continued jeers and insults, I could only muster a dry laugh. All right, I said, retreating to my room immediately. And so I began to plan my revenge against these strangers who felt entitled to stay in my home without a second thought. I'm Amy, 72 years old this year. I had been living with my son Wendell's family, but since he passed away, I've been living with his wife Kiki and grandson Hank. But it seems they don't appreciate this at all. Whatever goodwill I've shown them has been met with indifference, if not outright malice. Amy, I'm sorry. Work will keep me late again today. Don't worry about it. Just do your best at work. I'll look after Hank. Kiki often comes home late from work. Feeling sorry, she informs me as such, and I always try to encourage her. With Kiki so busy, my days consist of looking after Hank. That said, Hank is a middle schooler now. He should be able to take care of himself. Hey, Grandma, why do you cook such terrible stuff? I'm sorry, but you're growing. I make sure to cook enough. I don't want it. Not in the mood to eat this crap. Maybe Hank has felt lonely since his parents often work and leave him home alone. I was having a hard time with Hank, who was in the throes of teenage rebellion. It didn't help that he was disappointed his grandmother was the one taking care of him. He would often ignore the meals I prepared, and I even found out he was tossing the lunch boxes I made for him in the morning. He wouldn't lift a finger to do his laundry, but if I took it upon myself to bring it to his room, he'd snap at me. Don't come into my room without permission. I couldn't be too firm with him. I felt guilty for not allowing him to be indulged by his parents and having him endure instead. Yet, there was another factor that was making his behavior worse. Sierra, Kiki's mom. Really, Amy? You're feeding my grandson this junk? I'm sorry. Hank, Granny brought you some of your favorites. Go ahead, eat up. Awesome. You're a lifesaver. Sierra would come by unexpectedly, barge in without so much as a greeting, and shower Hank with gifts she called souvenirs. Even though they were Hank's favorite foods, they were often high in calories and greasy, just making his dislike of vegetables worse. Even if I hinted at his picky eating habits, Hank didn't listen. He had a powerful ally in his maternal grandmother. Sierra loves to criticize me, taking any opportunity to say whatever she wanted, making both Hank and herself feel better in the process. At times, she would even badmouth Wendell, who had passed away, leaving behind not just me, but our kids and his wife. Hank probably preferred Sierra over me, who nagged him daily. I was growing increasingly frustrated with Hank's worsening attitude and Sierra's enabling behavior. Still, I kept my composure, telling myself it was only once or twice a week. But that composure broke when Kiki made a certain suggestion. By the way, Amy, my mom's coming over next weekend. Just a heads up. Oh, she gave notice this time. Usually she'd just come over saying we're family and doesn't need to ask. Upon hearing what I had to say, Kiki frowned, but didn't object. Being a single mom and looking after a child at that age can't be easy, so I never insisted on moving out. I thought I'd be doing everything I could to help both of them. My mom said she's okay with us living here together. What? Sierra's going to live with us? Yeah, Hank already adores my mom, so it should be fine, right? Well, about that, I was at a loss for words. From Kiki's perspective, her own mother was more trustworthy. Even so, I'd been the one taking care of Kiki and Hank all this time. I was quite shocked that such a decision was made without even discussing it with me. Ignoring my reaction, Kiki continued. I didn't even ask for Amy's opinion. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. Oh, please clean out Wendell's room. My mom is pretty efficient. She'll throw things out immediately. I felt dizzy hearing her say this. She wanted to carelessly get rid of the memories in my late husband Wendell's room. The thought alone made my blood run cold. Rushing to Wendell's room, I started moving his belongings to my room, feeling a chill creeping into my heart. Sierra moved in before I knew it, and in no time, she acted like she owned the place. I had left some basic furniture in Wendell's room, thinking she would need it. But one morning, she had it all thrown out as bulk trash. Who would want to use a bed that belonged to someone who's dead? Exactly. I told Amy to clear out the unnecessary stuff. Maybe her ears aren't the only thing going bad in her old age. As Sierra moved a bed into Wendell's room, a bed that looked out of place, she said this. The way Sierra claimed the space as her own and disregarded Wendell, along with Kiki and Hank's support for her, was something I couldn't forget. Soon after Sierra moved in, I lost my place in the house. Kiki was often absent due to work. Hank refused to eat my cooking. And Sierra catered to Hank while treating me like an enemy. Enough of this. Learn something from Granny and cook something edible. Hank, you need to eat some vegetables too, or it's unhealthy. Don't worry, Granny knows exactly what you like. I'll make lots of it for you. With a smirk, they looked my way. While cleaning up the salad that had been knocked off the table, I pretended not to notice their contemptuous gaze, while Hank and I were sitting on the sofa happily eating the pizza that had been delivered without me noticing. I sighed. No matter how much this was for Hank's sake, being continually disregarded like this was disheartening. On top of that, feeling despised and being verbally abused made it hard to feel any love, even for my beloved grandson, left behind by my son. When did caring for Hank become more of an obligation than a pleasure? Reaching my limit, I took the opportunity to talk to Kiki when she came home late at night. I saw this as my last chance before our family bonds disappeared completely. However, Kiki was unaffected by my words, and she said, So you're saying you don't like how my mom behaves? You know, I thought living together in this house was a favor from me to you all. Can't you at least show a little appreciation as a family? Huh, is that so? I was the one who offered to continue living together after we lost Wendell, the breadwinner. I was also the one who decided to support Hank, who was emotionally unstable after losing his father. If family sentiments are absent in all of this, it wears down my soul. I tried to make Kiki understand my feelings, but she just grunted and said, I'm tired, then returned to her room without responding. The next morning on Kiki's day off, I was struck with a final blow. Mom, listen, Amy doesn't like your attitude. Oh, really? Maybe she's just lonely since Hank has been taken away from her. Suddenly, hearing this out loud, I was taken aback. While calling for Hank, they continued talking, glaring at me with malice. She says this house is only running because of her generosity. What a high and mighty attitude. I wonder what she's trying to say. Does she not understand she's not the only family member here? Seriously, it's infuriating. Maybe you should die soon too, like someone's son? Kiki spat out these words, with eyes wide open, glaring at me. Hank, who had been laughing at the sight, repeated Kiki's words like a parrot. Die soon? Ha! That's harsh. Whoa. Hank, don't laugh so much. You'll make Amy feel bad. Witnessing this scene, I felt as if I'd reached my breaking point. What had I been thinking? Serving these people all along? Any feelings for my precious grandson, left behind by my son, had long vanished. As they say, people who wish for your absence aren't family or anything of the sort. A weight lifted from my chest, and I felt clear-headed for the first time in a while.
What's with that look? Shocked to find out we're not family? Have you finally lost it?
Fine. We're going to live as a family from now on. Get out. I can only muster a dry laugh in response to the three people mocking and berating me. Understood, I reply, and quickly retreat to my room. I start planning my revenge on these people who have overstayed their welcome in my home without a second thought. First, I call a moving company to get all of my belongings out of this house. The movers gladly accept the job. As soon as I hang up the phone, they arrive and start loading my things onto the truck with efficiency.
Wait, why are you taking the furniture and appliances too?
Because most of the things in this house were purchased by me.
You're the only one getting kicked out. You should leave them.
No, thank you. I have no intention of leaving anything for strangers. Maybe it's because I've always been accommodating. But the three are surprised by my calm response. But they were the ones who hurled unspeakable insults, proving they're not family or even decent human beings. I have nothing more to give them. When we started living together, I had said I wanted to save money, so I purchased most of the furniture and appliances. That includes Kiki's favorite microwave and Hank's go-to sofa. I have them promptly packed by the movers. As my belongings are being carted away, the three continue to snipe, albeit with unpleasant expressions.
Well, fine. I'm actually glad you're getting rid of that old furniture. Makes things feel fresh.
Granny, why don't you buy me a new bed while you're at it?
Sure, let's get one bigger than before. I ignore their incessant sarcastic remarks and tape up the final box. After glancing around our empty house, apart from their rooms, I gave a cheerful, "Well then," turned my back to the three of them, and left.
How wonderful this home is now that the nuisance is gone.
You don't have a home to return to anymore.
Spend your lonely retirement alone. Ignoring their noisy complaints, I couldn't help but chuckle. Do they really think this is over just because I walked out with my bags? I looked back once more at the three optimistic faces, wondering how they'd react to what was about to happen. A soft chuckle rose within me as I thought about it.
Wait a minute. What did you do?
The angry voice came over the phone a few days after I had left. After leaving, I quickly completed some paperwork. One afternoon while relaxing in a hotel, as I searched for a new place to live, I got a call from Kiki, who should have been working.
Oh, took the day off. That's not the point. What did you do to our house?
Kiki's words prompted me to respond with a deliberately feigned, "Ah," ignoring her shrill insults thrown at me as if she was under some kind of pressure. I casually handled the situation and answered her question. "I sold the house. It's not my place to live anymore."
You sold it? Our house? The house Wendell bought?
It's not our house. It's my house. Did you forget about the asset division? When I said that, she fell silent, apparently having forgotten entirely. The house had been under my eldest son's name, but during the asset division, Kiki dumped all the messy paperwork on me because it was too much of a hassle. I agreed to her audacious request to transfer the house title to me in exchange for all financial matters concerning her and Hank. Realizing she had just now caught on to the facts, she started making frantic excuses.
That's not what I meant.
What I do with my house is my business. Please make moving arrangements soon.
But then we'll have nowhere to live.
Not my problem. That's someone else's house, as far as I'm concerned. As I was leaving Kiki, who had shouted loudly that it's more comfortable without the nuisance, had lost her enthusiasm and was mumbling softly. Behind her, two others seemed to have overheard. I heard a voice scolding her.
What are you going to do now?
Why not ask Sierra? Heck, even your parents' old house, where you lived before, would do.
Well, that house is even older than this one. There's no way I can go back there.
Then find an apartment or something.
Can't we just have this house?
Are you kidding me? You want the house for free. Use the inheritance Wendell left you and figure it out. I gave her a piece of my mind, then chaos erupted on the other end of the line. Everyone was talking at once, making it impossible to understand what was being said. So I hung up the phone. For a while the calls kept coming, but I ignored them. Then a call from Hank's number came through. Yes? Grandmother? I'm sorry. I want to live with you as a family again. I see. I promise no more complaints. The food you cook is actually really good. Hearing that now only sounds like you're trying to butter me up. His words, contrasting sharply with his previous rough attitude, made me waver for a moment. But then I remembered the day Kiki said,
"Isn't it about time you died?"
with a horrifying smile, and Hank laughed loudly, as if mocking me. At that moment, I felt that he wasn't Wendell's child. Hank is Kiki's child, not Wendell's. I couldn't see any trace of Wendell in the shallow way they changed their tune and groveled the moment they faced trouble, despite wishing me gone. Live happily with your family of 3, I said. Wait, please, I apologize. Please forgive me. Some mistakes can't be undone. Teach that to your mother and Granny, too. And with that, I hung up again. Calls from Kiki continued, but eventually ceased when she seemed to give up. Finally, everything was over. I folded my hands in front of a photograph of Wendell that I had placed on the table and reported to him in silence. A few days later, apparently the 3 of them had no option but to move back to Kiki's old family home after their house was put up for sale. According to a tearful phone call from Hank, Kiki had been recklessly spending Wendell's inheritance and living it up. Their financial recklessness led to constant arguments with Sierra, making every day stressful for Hank. So what have you been up to? I don't feel like I belong in this house, so I've been hanging out at friends' places. I wish I could live with Grandma again. Try not to be a burden to your friends, okay? Hank keeps playing the victim card, but he makes no effort to appreciate his current family. Instead, he's just trying to win me over. It's clear he hasn't learned a thing, which I find frustrating. I'm not moved by Hank's appeals and choose to ignore them. Kiki, too, has called me, her voice laced with complaints about being yelled at by Hank and not being able to stand Sierra's lectures. Both Hank and Kiki only tell me things that are convenient for them, but I couldn't care less.
Amy, can't we be a family again?
You seemed pretty happy when I was out of the picture, didn't you?
Well, that was a poor choice of words.
You wanted me gone just like Wendell, didn't you? I can't be family with someone who says things like that. She stomped on my goodwill, calling it condescending, so I have no intention of doing anything more for her. Fed up, I decide to ignore calls from both of them. Then a call comes in from an unknown number. Answering it, I find, unsurprisingly, that it's Sierra. Amy, being stubborn won't get you anywhere. What are you talking about? Planning on living all alone? You can still come back, you know, just apologize. Apologize and become what, your servant? She still can't humble herself to apologize to me. They try to lure me back with their self-centered talks, but I can only laugh it off. Don't you want to live with your cute grandchild again? Don't you regret abandoning your family? Regret it? Not a chance. You're the ones who cast me aside, saying I'm not family. Maybe you're the ones with regrets. That's why you're calling me. With that said, the call ends abruptly, amidst shouting on her end. Looking at the call ended on my phone, I once again affirm that I did nothing wrong. I've done all I can in that house. Hank is old enough to know right from wrong. If they had even offered a single apology to Wendell, I might have reconsidered. But all they did was try to win my favor. So let them enjoy their real family. I sold the house and moved into a new apartment with the money. In my sunny new room, I offer a prayer to Wendell's picture Whether they're real family or not, caring for others is what really matters. Smiling, I update Wendell's photo on how things have turned out for them. I don't have to worry about anyone else or be unnecessarily considerate anymore. Living alone in my comfortable new home feels incredibly refreshing.